Hello, everybody. This is MegaTrain. A couple days ago, I saw a post on Reddit by MotoManGP that showed a pretty cool gadget that allowed you to control the time of day using an item inside an item frame. So, in this particular case, you can actually control the position of the sun and the time of the day based on where this sword is rotated. And now, with the 1.8 snapshots, there are 8 positions that an item can be rotated in, and you can use a comparator to check that position and to output a redstone signal with the power based on the position. So he shows how to do that. I'll show you I'll have the link in the notes. And as you would imagine, there's basically time set commands in each one of these command blocks that set to different times of day or night. So the pretty obvious question came about when this was posted, that can you do the opposite? Can you use redstone to change the orientation of an item in a frame based on the time of day? And that is exactly what I was able to build. It is not easy. The redstone is much more complex than what we have on this side. But I was able to do that. So let me show you a quick montage. I'll just stay here and watch this thing work and compare it to the clock. And we will. I'll show you the explanation of how it's done. All right, let's show you how this thing works. I've actually sped this up for the purpose of the demo so we can see the mechanism in action. But it's all command blocks, and really there's 2 main command blocks that we're going to use here. The first one is a kill command. The snapshot introduced the ability to kill an entity. And I am doing killing all item frames at a specific XYZ location with a radius of 0. So if you've got the coordinates exact, you can put a radius of 0. You don't want to kill any nearby item frames. And secondly, I'm going to then summon the next item frame. So summon the item frame. There's 2 set of coordinates. The first set of coordinates is the block that contains the frame itself. And the second set of coordinates inside the braces here is the block that the item frame is attached to. So the only difference in this case is the Z coordinate. There is a direction indicator here for what face it's pointing to. And finally, the item that I'm going to summon. So a 267 is an iron sword. And this last component is the item rotation. So this is kind of what makes the whole thing work here. This value in prior versions was just a 0 through 3. And now it is a 0 through 7. So if I summon something with a rotation of 4, that will be pointing to the lower left. If I change that to a 0, oops, clear this out. It'll be pointing to the upper right. Oh, I think my mechanism is still advancing here. So, yep, that's still working. All right, so let me show you how this thing works here. So I've got 3 sets, primarily 3 sets of command blocks. The first one here is the kill command. These are all identical coordinates. The second one is the summon command for the item frame, and the only difference between all of these is the item rotation. All these. The syntax of these commands are down in the video notes, by the way, video description box. And this third one here actually sets up my timer. This summons an item. I'm using a item despawning timer, and I'm using a parameter here that allows me to define how old the item is, so I can determine when it's going to despawn. So for the purpose of this demo, I set it to a very, very short despawn time. When this number gets up to 6,000 ticks, it'll despawn. That normally takes 5 minutes to count from 0 to 6,000. The number that I normally want in here is 3,000 for a 2.5 minute despawn time. So the 2.5 minute despawn time means that for 8 cycles of the day gives me a 20-minute Minecraft day, which is exactly what I need. But I changed that number just for the demo here so that we could see that advance through pretty quickly. So these items are summoned onto these pressure plates. And next to these pressure plates, this is a hopper falling edge detector. And what happens is when that item despawns, it pushes an item into the next hopper, which triggers a single pulse from the comparator, which runs a new signal to the next column. And it just puts a new item on the new block. You will notice that it does not have a last block. So in the last cycle, I do not place a stick back on the first. And that's because I want this to sync back up to the day every morning. I don't want it to get out of whack. You've got fast computers, slow computers, you've got laggy servers. I want this to really be set up correctly to resync every morning. Plus, if someone sleeps in a bed, it's really going to get out of whack unless I have a mechanism like this. So I've got a reset mechanism. And let me show you the manual version first here. The reset mechanism will basically light up these hoppers first so that we don't end up with multiple sticks. And then it'll trigger this block here. This block basically kills all floating items within 10 blocks, which is going to wipe out any sticks that are left here. So, because depending on when you go to sleep, you might have an item floating in the middle of one of these blocks here. You've got to get rid of it so it doesn't multiple trigger. And so you can reset it manually like I've done here, but the key here is the daylight sensor, and this daylight sensor is set to trigger using this comparator. This has 7 out of 9 stacks full in a dropper, which outputs 11 power of 11. So whenever this hits 11 output, this item will trigger. This is just a rising edge detector, a little bit of a delay. That's just make sure the signal stays on long enough to make it all work right. And it will kick it off in the day. So just to show you that that portion of it works, let me set it to nighttime. And we're going to go to sleep. So I know daylight detectors are sensitive to weather and storms and all sorts of stuff, but it's about the best that we can do. Until and unless we get a better way to use command blocks to literally read the day's time, I've got a proposal on Minecraft suggestions that I'll link to, that we get a better way in a command block to figure out what time it is. But in a moment here, this should trigger the daylight sensor. It should run power signal through that rising edge detector, and it should reset and start the stick over back on a new day. So kind of a combination of different elements. I'm sure there's better optimized way to do things with some of the mechanisms, and compact the redstone, all that. But I think it works pretty well. There are some ways it can go wrong if you reset it right when it's in the middle of a recycle. There we go. There's the daylight detector. That starts it over. If you reset it in the middle of a cycle or right when it's cycling, then it could get 2 sticks at the same time. You'd have to reset it again. Also, I found that if you log out and then log back in, that sometimes these frames get messed up. You have to manually hit it off the wall and place a new one. I think that that's a snapshot bug and not a problem with my mechanism here. But that remains to be seen. So this is my Minecraft clock. I hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of the counter opposite to the one we showed at the beginning here. And I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments.